There is a war happening inside you right now. You cannot see it, you cannot hear it, but it is happening every single second of your life. It is the war between who you are and who you could become. Between the voice that says stop and the voice that says continue. Between the mind that controls you and the mind you are meant to control. Most people never win this war, not because they are weak, not because they lack ability, but because they never even knew the war was happening. They spend their whole life reacting to their thoughts instead of directing them. They let their mind lead them instead of leading their mind. And that is why nothing changes. That is why the same year repeats itself over and over, disguised as a new one. Your life right now, exactly as it is a reflection of your mind, not your luck, not your circumstances, not the people around you. Your mind. Every result you have, every habit you carry, every level you have reached or failed to reach, it all began as a thought that you allowed to stay. This is the hidden mind, the part of you that is running the show behind the scenes while you think you are the one in control. And until you learn to master it, you will keep spinning in circles calling it bad luck. Let's go deeper. Every single action you have ever taken started as a thought. You did not wake up one day and simply become lazy. You thought about staying in bed 1 extra minute. Then you allowed it. Then you repeated it. And slowly that thought became a habit, and that habit became your identity. The same is true in the opposite direction. You did not become disciplined overnight. Somebody somewhere thought, I will do this even though I don't feel like it. And they repeated that thought until it became who they are. This is the formula nobody teaches you in school. A thought becomes a feeling. A feeling becomes a decision. A decision becomes an action. An action repeated becomes a habit. And a habit repeated long enough becomes your destiny. So if you want to change your destiny, you cannot start with your actions. You have to start further back. You have to start with your thinking. Think about how many people try to change their life by changing their behavior alone. They try a new schedule. They try a new gym plan. They try a new business idea. And it works for 3 days. Then it collapses. Why? Because they never dealt with the mind underneath the behavior. They tried to cut the branches without touching the root. And the root always grows the branches back. If you want a different life, you need a different mind. Not a different job. Not a different city. Not a different set of circumstances. A different mind. Now here is something most people never realize. Your mind does not care whether the thoughts you feed it are true or false. It only cares whether you repeat them. Tell yourself, I am lazy enough times, and your mind will accept it as fact, even if it isn't. Tell yourself, I always fail enough times, and your mind will start looking for evidence to prove you right. Your mind is not interested in truth. It is interested in repetition. Whatever you repeat, it protects. Whatever you protect, it grows. This is both the danger and the opportunity of your mind. The danger is that if you are careless, your mind will absorb every doubt, every fear, every piece of negativity around you, and turn it into your identity. The opportunity is that if you are intentional, you can feed your mind different thoughts on purpose, and over time those thoughts will become just as real, just as automatic, just as unshakable. This is not positive thinking as a slogan. This is mental training as a discipline. Athletes train their bodies every single day, on purpose, with structure, without waiting to feel like it. Almost nobody trains their mind the same way. They wait for motivation to visit them like an old friend, and when it doesn't show up, they use its absence as an excuse to stay the same. But motivation was never supposed to be the engine. Discipline is the engine. Motivation is just the spark that gets you started, and sparks fade fast. Discipline is what keeps burning long after the spark is gone. Discipline is what shows up on the days you don't feel anything at all. Now let's talk about comfort. Comfort is the quiet killer of potential. Comfort never announces itself as your enemy. It never shows up looking dangerous. It shows up looking reasonable. It whispers things like, you deserve a break. You can start Monday. 1 episode won't hurt. You've had a long day. Relax tonight. And every single sentence sounds harmless in the moment. But add them all up over a year, and you will find an entire life quietly wasted in the name of small, harmless moments. Comfort is patient. It doesn't need to defeat you today. It is happy to defeat you slowly, one lazy decision at a time, stretched out over months and years, until one day you look back and wonder where your life went. Nobody decides in one dramatic moment to waste their life. They just make one small, comfortable choice after another until the pattern becomes permanent. This is why small choices matter so much more than people realize. It is never really about the one time you skip the workout, or the one night you scroll instead of sleep, or the one day you delay the important work. It is about what that one time teaches your mind. Every time you give in, you send a message to your own brain that says, "This is who we are now." We give in, and your brain listens. It always listens. It is always taking notes on your behavior and building your identity out of the patterns you repeat. So the real question is not, what do I want to achieve this year? The real question is, what small decisions am I repeating every single day? And what identity are those decisions quietly building inside me? Now let's talk about the excuses your mind gives you, because they are more clever than most people realize. Your mind will never say, "Don't grow," because that sounds too honest, too obviously self-destructive. Instead, it will say things dressed up as wisdom. It will say, "Be realistic." It will say, "Don't push yourself too hard." It will say, "You need balance." And sometimes those words are true, but most of the time, they are just comfort wearing a disguise. The excuses always sound intelligent in the moment they are made. That is what makes them dangerous. Nobody looks in the mirror and says, "I am choosing failure today." They say, "I'll start tomorrow," and it feels responsible. They say, "This isn't the right time," and it feels wise. But excuses do not need to be loud to be destructive. They only need to be repeated. A quiet excuse repeated daily is more dangerous than a loud failure that happens once, because the quiet excuse never gets confronted. It just sits there, silently rotting your potential from the inside. Here is the truth almost nobody wants to hear. You do not need more motivation. You need less negotiation. Stop negotiating with your own goals every single morning. Stop asking your feelings for permission to do what you already know needs to be done. A weak mind negotiates constantly. A strong mind simply decides once, and then executes without asking for a vote from its own emotions every single day. Feelings are not built to be reliable leaders. They change with your sleep, your mood, your hunger, your weather. If you wait to feel ready before you act, you will be waiting for the rest of your life, because feelings were never designed to align perfectly with your goals. Discipline exists specifically for the moments when your feelings refuse to cooperate. That is the entire purpose of discipline. Anyone can act when they feel like it. Discipline is what allows you to act when you don't. Now let's talk about focus, because focus might be the most underrated force in a person's entire life. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, your results grow. This is not a poetic idea. It is a mechanical fact about how human beings function. Whatever you give your attention to expands in your experience of life. Give your attention to your fears, and your fears grow larger. Give your attention to distractions, and your distractions multiply. Give your attention to your goals, and slowly, quietly, your goals start moving toward you. Most people are not lacking ability. They are lacking focus. Their attention is scattered across 100 directions, a little bit here, a little bit there, and none of it lands with enough force to create real change. Imagine sunlight spread out across an entire field. It warms the grass gently, but it creates nothing powerful. Now imagine that same sunlight concentrated through a single lens onto one single point. It creates fire. Your mind works exactly the same way. Scattered attention creates warmth at best. Focused attention creates transformation. The world today is engineered to steal your focus. Every notification, every app, every headline is competing for a piece of your attention, and most people give it away without even noticing. They wake up and hand their mind over to their phone before they've even had a single original thought of their own. And then they wonder why their days feel unproductive, why their goals never seem to move forward, why the year keeps ending the same way it began. You must protect your attention like it is the most valuable resource you own, because it is. Time can be managed, but attention must be protected, guarded, defended, because the moment you stop guarding it, the world will take it from you and hand you back a life full of noise and empty of progress. Now let's talk about daily discipline, because this is where the real transformation actually happens. Not in dramatic moments, not in one big decision made under emotional pressure. In small, unglamorous, repeated actions that nobody is watching and nobody is applauding. Waking up on time when nobody forces you to. Doing the work when there is no deadline pressing on you. Staying focused when distraction is one click away. These are not exciting stories to tell people. Nobody claps for you when you go to sleep early instead of wasting hours scrolling. Nobody congratulates you for choosing the harder, quieter path today. But these invisible choices are exactly what separate the people who eventually break through from the people who stay stuck at the same level for years, wondering what they are missing. You are not missing a secret. You are missing consistency. Consistency is the quiet, unglamorous secret that everybody has heard of and almost nobody actually practices, because consistency does not offer instant rewards. It asks you to keep showing up long before you see any proof that it is working. That waiting period, that gap between effort and visible results, is exactly where most people quit. They plant the seed, and then they dig it up every single week to check if the roots are growing, and in doing so they destroy the very thing they were trying to grow. Growth is often invisible until suddenly it isn't. A tree does not look like it's doing anything dramatic for years while its roots are spreading deep underground, preparing to support the height it will eventually reach. Your discipline works the exact same way. While you are showing up quietly, day after day, something is happening beneath the surface that you cannot yet see. Character is being built, skill is being sharpened, confidence is being earned. And one day, seemingly out of nowhere, all of that invisible effort becomes visible as a result. But it was never really sudden. It was built in silence, brick by brick, for a very long time before anyone else noticed. This is why you cannot judge your progress by a single day, or even a single month. You have to judge it by your system. What you consistently do, not what you occasionally attempt. Your results are not determined by your best day or your worst day. They are determined by your average day, repeated relentlessly over time. So the real question worth asking yourself is not, did I have a good day today? The question is, what does my average day actually look like? And is that average day building the future I say I want? Or is it quietly working against it? Be honest with yourself here, because your mind will try to protect you from this honesty. It will try to convince you that you are trying harder than you actually are, that your intention should count as much as your actions. But intentions build nothing. Actions build everything. You are not what you intend to do. You are what you actually repeatedly do. Now let's talk about mental strength, because mental strength is not the absence of struggle. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about strong, disciplined people. They assume that disciplined people simply don't feel resistance, that somehow they wake up every day feeling motivated and ready, immune to the tiredness and doubt that everyone else feels. That is not true, and it never was. Disciplined people feel exactly the same resistance as everyone else. They feel tired, they feel doubt, they feel the pull of comfort whispering in their ear exactly like it whispers in yours. The difference is not the absence of resistance, the difference is their response to it. Where an undisciplined mind negotiates with resistance, a disciplined mind simply moves through it. Where an undisciplined mind waits for the feeling of readiness to arrive before acting, a disciplined mind acts first and lets the feeling of readiness catch up later, because it always does, eventually, once you are already in motion. Action is the cure for doubt. Not thinking your way out of doubt, not waiting for confidence to appear before you begin. Action itself, even small, imperfect action, dissolves doubt far faster than sitting still and analyzing your fears ever will. Doubt grows in stillness. It shrinks in motion. So the next time you feel paralyzed by uncertainty, understand that the way out is rarely more thinking. The way out is usually a small, immediate step forward, taken before you feel ready. Now here is something that will change the way you see your entire life, if you let it sink in. You are not actually controlled by your circumstances. You are controlled by your interpretation of your circumstances, and your interpretation is a direct product of your mind. Two people can experience the exact same setback, the exact same failure, the exact same loss, and walk away with two completely different futures, simply because of how their mind chose to interpret what happened. One mind says, "This proves I am not capable." The other mind says, "This is information I needed in order to improve." Same event, two entirely different destinies, built purely out of two different thought patterns. This means you have far more control over your life than you have been giving yourself credit for. Not control over what happens to you, because life will always contain things outside your control, but control over what you do with what happens to you, and that control lives entirely inside your mind. So how do you actually begin training this hidden mind of yours? It does not start with some elaborate morning routine copied from somebody else's life. It starts with awareness. You have to become aware of your own thoughts before you can ever hope to direct them. Most people go through their entire life on autopilot, reacting to whatever thought shows up first, without ever questioning whether that thought deserves their obedience. The first step to mastering your mind is simply noticing your thoughts instead of automatically believing every single one of them. Not every thought that enters your head is true. Not every feeling that arises deserves to be acted upon. You are allowed to observe a thought and then choose not to follow it. This sounds simple, but it is one of the most powerful skills a human being can develop, because it is the exact skill that separates a person who is led by their mind from a person who leads their mind. Once you build this awareness, the next step is repetition with intention. Just as your bad habits were built through unintentional repetition, your new identity has to be built through intentional repetition. This means choosing certain thoughts and certain actions on purpose and repeating them daily, even on the days when you don't feel like it, especially on the days when you don't feel like it, because those are the days that actually count the most. Anyone can be disciplined on an easy day. Discipline is proven on the difficult ones. Understand something clearly here. You will not feel completely transformed after one disciplined day, or even one disciplined week. Change at this level is quiet before it is loud. It accumulates silently under the surface long before it becomes visible in your results. This is exactly why so many people quit right before their breakthrough. They cannot see the progress yet, so they assume there isn't any, and they stop just before the invisible work would have finally become visible. Do not make that mistake. Trust the process even when the process feels boring, even when it feels slow, even when nobody around you seems to notice the effort you are putting in. The tree does not need applause to keep growing its roots. It just keeps growing, quietly, consistently, because that is simply what it does. Let that be you. Now let's bring this all together, because everything we have talked about points back to one single truth. Your outer life is always a reflection of your inner world, not eventually, not sometimes, always. If your mind is scattered, your life will feel scattered. If your mind is undisciplined, your life will feel unstable. If your mind is fearful, your life will feel small. But the reverse is equally true. If your mind is focused, your life will start to feel purposeful. If your mind is disciplined, your life will start to feel controlled. If your mind is confident, your life will start to expand. This is why chasing external changes without addressing your internal world so often fails. You cannot build a strong house on a weak foundation, no matter how nice the furniture looks on the outside. Your mind is the foundation. Everything else, your habits, your results, your future, is simply furniture placed on top of it. So if you take nothing else away from this, take this. Stop trying to fix your life from the outside in. Start fixing it from the inside out. Train your thoughts the way an athlete trains their body, daily, deliberately, without waiting for motivation to grant you permission. Reject the excuses the moment you notice them forming, because every excuse rejected today becomes strength for tomorrow, and every excuse accepted today becomes a limitation you will have to fight even harder to remove later. Protect your focus like it is the most valuable thing you own, because attention is the currency your entire future is being purchased with. Choose consistency over intensity, because a small disciplined action repeated daily will always outperform a burst of motivation that fades within a week. And understand finally that mastering your mind is not a one-time event. It is not a switch you flip and then forget about. It is a daily decision, made again and again, sometimes hundreds of times within a single day, to choose discipline over comfort, to choose direction over distraction, to choose growth over ease. The battle inside your mind will never fully end. Even the most disciplined people you admire are still fighting it today, quietly, in ways you will never see. The difference is not that they won the war once and now live in permanent peace. The difference is that they keep showing up to fight it every single day, and slowly that daily fight became their strength. So the question is no longer whether you have what it takes. You already have a mind. Everyone does. The real question is whether you are willing to start training it today, right now, in this very moment, instead of waiting for some perfect future moment that will never actually arrive on its own. Change your mind, and you change your habits. Change your habits, and you change your results. Change your results, and you change your entire future. It all starts in the same quiet place it always has. Not in your circumstances, not in your luck, in your mind. Master your mind, and you master your life.